This week on HomeKit News, the SwitchBot K11 Plus and S20 robot vacuums with Matter. Welcome back everybody. Today we're looking at not one device, but actually two. These are the Robot Vacuum K11 Plus and the floor cleaning robot S20, both from SwitchBot. The S20 is the company's newest all-in floor cleaning solution with an upgrade to the suction power from 6,500 pascals up to 10,000, which is a 54% increase in suction strength. The K11 Plus also doubles its suction power found in the K10 Plus Pro to 6,000 pascals. What's also impressive about the K11 Plus is that the company have reduced the base station even further by nearly 30%, which is pretty incredible. So let's have a look at these two new robots side by side. So as you can see, they differ greatly in size, with the S20 coming in at 14 1/3 inches and the K11 Plus remaining at the same 9 3/4 inches. The S20 is also taller at 4.5 inches compared to the K11 Plus at 3.9 inches. Both now also offer Matter 1.4 support, meaning the rooms you set up are exposed to Apple Home. Under the hood, it's all fairly standard to be honest, so you have the dust tray for the S20 here, sitting roughly in the middle, whilst the dust tray for the K11 sits at the back with a small handle. The other difference is that the S20 has an extra button that allows you to cycle through different cleaning modes. Both have the basic pause and home buttons, of course. On the underside, it's equally fairly familiar. Both come with rubber anti-tangle brushes, although as you can see, the S20 also has a roller mop for mopping your floors. The K11 Plus has 3 edge sensors, whereas the S20 has double that at 6 sensors in total. Focusing on the S20 for a bit, and one side features a hidden hatch that houses access to the roller mop itself. This simply pulls out like so for additional cleaning or replacement. The back is home to a water tank above the 2 charging contacts and water connectors. This tank can be easily removed for regular maintenance and cleaning, which is good as it will need it. Onto the base stations now, starting with the K11 Plus, and this time the top comes with a faux wooden surface that matches the one found on the company's air purifier table. The lid comes off completely, with the underside housing a special attachment that allows the vacuum to mop the floor with the included wiping cloths. Inside you get a small pack of spares, which includes some extra dust bags, the wet wipes and a spare filter. There's also a dust bag pre-installed. Finally, there's a blade for cutting tangled hairs or string, etc. Other than that, it's fairly similar to its predecessor, the K10 Plus Pro. Moving on to the S20 base station, which is clearly much larger. The front panel is removable, revealing a pre-fitted dust bag, although there are no spares included on this occasion. There's also something small wrapped in bubble wrap, which I'll look at later. And lastly, a small bottle of cleaning solution. This needs to be added to the clean water tank, as this particular model doesn't have a specific dispenser mechanism to automatically add it to the water. There's also a small Bluetooth button for initial pairing. At the top are the 2 now familiar water tanks, one for dirty water of course after a floor cleaning session, and one for clean water. These are both very easy to access like so, with hinges at the back. Now if we look at the space for the dirty water tank, you can also see a small seal. This holds a tiny little filter to catch debris caught up in the water tank, which is a new one to me. Onto the bottom end of the station now, and this has 3 slots that blow hot air to the underside of the vac in order to dry the mop at either 50 Celsius or 122 degrees Fahrenheit. The only other thing in the 2 boxes are the manuals, although in the case of the S20 you also get this plastic mat, which I'll demonstrate later. You also get a brush for cleaning that immediately made me think of the legendary Ken Dodd. Look him up. So in order to get these up and running, you will need to add these to the SwitchBot app, which I've already done. So once set up, you will also need to map your floor or floors, clearing anything up that's non-permanent. Mapping didn't take too long, and whilst it maps, it isn't cleaning, just so you're aware. That's the mapping for the K11 Plus done, and I also did the same with the S20, as you can see, although I deliberately haven't named the rooms yet. Importantly, we need to get these into Apple Home, of course, so go into the settings page and select Matter Setup. From there, it'll provide info on what is required before finally generating the Matter code, which in this case is a staggering 21 characters long as opposed to the normal 11. I've copied the code, and so I just need to add the Vac to my Apple Home. It's not showing up here, but I'll still enter the code and go through the now familiar steps for setting up the device in Apple Home. The S20 is now added, so if I scroll down, you can see the tile for it here. If I go into the first screen, you can see the options available, and if I tap on Rooms, you can see they only show A, B, C, D and E, as I didn't name the rooms in the SwitchBot app. I've now named the rooms there, so if I hop back into the Home app and the settings page, you can now see the names for the rooms have been updated. One thing to note is that in vacuum only mode, you only get the quick option for cleaning. If you switch to vacuum and mop, you then get access to quiet, max, deep clean and automatic. Onto a basic test now, and in this case the K11 Plus is covering a 2.5 meter area, taking around 4 minutes to complete. Note that it's not cleaning in the direction of the flooring. This is because there's no option to add flooring types for the K11 Plus, and therefore no option to set the flooring orientation. You do get this option with the S20 however, as you can see here. One thing I did notice with the K11 Plus in testing is that once it starts off to clean the room, it would show as travelling, but briefly change to alert before finally switching back to travelling. However, even when it did reach the room, it would continue to show travelling even if the SwitchBot app didn't show this. After it had finished, it would then display returning and finally charging. Hopefully they can fix this. What I can definitely say about the K11 Plus is that its size means it can weave through our dining chairs without any issues at all. Onto a quick test for the S20 now, and this is covering roughly the same area, completing a basic vacuuming session in just over 5 minutes. All told, it seems the K11 is around 7% faster, probably due to being lighter and more agile perhaps. Onto object avoidance tests now with a small box, a dog leash, a USB cable and plug, a pair of socks and a sandal. Now the K11 Plus is first and seemed promising at first in the way it was able to navigate around the box. However, that joy was little short-lived, as by the time it got to the dog leash, it simply didn't acknowledge it at all, pushing it out of the way. Things got even worse after it came up to the USB-C cable, which got stuck under the vacuum. This is a shame, as on paper, the object avoidance system sounds decent, but it seems it's no better than the K10 Plus Pro I tested just over a year ago. The same poor object detection was evident with both the pair of socks and even the sandal, which being fairly large and dark, one would expect to be avoided. Not so, unfortunately. Okay, so let's see how the S20 fares in this case, and as it began its initial edge cleaning, it immediately noticed the socks and carefully avoided them without any issues at all. If anything, I'd say it seemed to give objects too wide a berth, but that's better than getting too close, I guess. It's also handily avoided the dog leash, which I was happy to see. All in all, it managed to avoid everything it encountered without any issues at all. The S20 clearly makes good use of the AI and the built-in camera that, whilst you can't access yourself, does help identify objects. In case you didn't know, the S20 also has built-in floodlights, which definitely helps with identifying and avoiding objects. The plastic mat that I showed you before basically sits in front of the base station so that when the hot air blows over the roller brush, your floors aren't damaged by condensation. The small object in bubble wrap is a diatom tile, which is like a dense piece of chalk-like material. It sits in the little recess below the connectors, so any drips of water will be soaked up by the tile. Onto some features of the SwitchBot app now, starting with the S20. So you can choose between cleaning the whole house, just a room or rooms, or even a specific area if you wish. For the base station, you can choose to wash or dry the mop, as well as force empty the dust tray. You have additional settings, one of which is the option to pair the S20 with a water station separate from the water tank as part of your base station. When it comes to cleaning modes, for vacuuming you have 4 suction strengths: quiet, standard, strong and max. If you opt for Vacs and mop, you also get 2 water levels, moist or wet. You also have Vac then Mop if you prefer that option, but you also have Custom. This allows you to set the cleaning mode on a room by room basis. So if a particular room needs a deeper clean but only vacuuming, you can set it here. As I've got the S20 set up in a bedroom, it's handy that the Do Not Disturb feature also turns off all the lights on the vacuum. If you do have carpets, there is a mode specifically for that, allowing for a few different options. When it comes to the K11 Plus, you basically get many of the same basic options, although unlike the S20, you can set the K11 Plus to do 1 or 2 passes of a room if you wish. As the K11 Plus can also mop, after a fashion, you can choose the mop mode once you've attached the mopping cloths to do so. You have almost all the same map editing features as the S20, but in the case of the K11 Plus, you can also pair it with a SwitchBot remote if you wish. Finally, you also have access to the Matter setup options if needed. Just a quick look back at the S20 now, and it's important to note that unlike the EcoVacs X8 I reviewed a while ago, the roller mop on the S20 can't extend out. The brush also doesn't extend out like many Vacs do these days, and even though there's a camera built in, you can't access it in the way you can the RoboVac S8 Max V Ultra, for example. Finally, to the pros and cons, starting with the K11 Plus and with Matter. With Matter 1.4, you do get access to room level control within Apple Home, which is great. The K11 Plus is already tiny, but making the base station even smaller than before is no mean feat. Increasing the suction by 100% is also no small feat of engineering, considering the K11 Plus is the same shape and size as its predecessor. It's also very budget friendly, especially so when sales come around, so almost everyone can enjoy having a smart vacuum. It would have been nice to have an extending side brush, but for the price, it's hard to complain with a feature like this. However, the object avoidance is pretty poor in my opinion. That said, I always think it's wise to pick up after yourself rather than rely on your Vac to avoid stuff. Onto the S20 now, and as with the K11 Plus, getting Matter 1.4 on this device is not only good, but actually a necessity really. For those that want full mopping on a budget, this does a pretty good job all told, especially with the self-cleaning base station. A jump in suction power is always welcome, and at nearly 54% increase, that's a big leap. The S20 does set itself apart from other Vacs due to it being able to interact with the company's own humidifier, so that's a good plus if required. Obstacle avoidance is clearly far superior to the K11 Plus here, although if I'm honest it can be a little overcautious at times. The only disappointment is that when this was first announced, it was going to have both an extendable side brush and roller mop, both of which have seemingly been abandoned. Still, for the price, it's very competitive if you want many top-end features for a lower price. So that's our take on the K11 Plus and the S20, the new robot vacuums from SwitchBot. Are you in the market for either a budget vac or maybe a second one to cover another floor perhaps? Let me know in the comments section below, and if you've got any questions on this or any of my other videos, ask away and I'll always reply. In the meantime, if you enjoyed this video, show some love by giving it a like, share if you can, and do subscribe if you haven't done so already. It just remains for me to leave you with this week's quote, this time from writer and actor Garrison Keillor.